got the Viserai versus the Starvo. Starvo, a very powerful hero, made his way into the meta with Everfest and just hasn't left. Starvo's been here, a mainstay of the format. As you can see there, Starvo's very powerful hero effect. Starvo says, if you reveal an Earth, an Ice, and a Lightning card, you win the game. Pretty sure that's how that functions.
Yes. That is how it works, I believe. I believe it's called Shooting the Moon.
A little like Moonshot's a new card from this upcoming Bright Light set here. But no, I think this is. I think that's how that functioned. Basically.
Talk about Starvo.
Nice.
Do your best impression of that passage.
That was the last recording that Whitney Houston ever made.
Can you sing that? Can you give us your best impression?
We don't talk about Starvo.
Whoa, whoa.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that was solid, y'all. That was really good.
The Bonobo Boys. That's
that's
their
their name.
that's their barbershop trio.
Oh, there you go, barbershop trio.
Yeah.
Hey, I could play along with that. All right, so Chris. By the way, if you didn't know, Chris is Team Second Cycle and also the originator, the progenitor of the best sleeve in Flesh and Blood.
Stop it.
And this is going to, in some way, shape, or form, probably stay out on the arena the entirety of this matchup. So that Flake can thoroughly enjoy his favorite hero with his favorite sleeve. Oh, no.
Stop it.
Oh, no. We don't actually get to see it.
Hey, look at
Now,
that.
I'm confused here.
Look at that. You see it. You know that this means business. That is a
Yellow bordered
white
color that is.
White. Yeah, okay, sure, no problem.
Why do we have a gold token with Crown of Providence? That seems a bit suspicious.
Yeah, well, when you have a huge brain, like apparently he does, like the leader. Nonetheless, it is Bravo versus Viserai.
Oh, okay, there's the fix there. We've got the fix. I love the Dyadic Carapace for the extra block. I think that's also perhaps one of the most beautiful cards and like foilings in the game. But we do have a white bordered Borvo.
Oh, wow.
Topper of show to show that we are activating the ability so that we can say Starstruck for 10 dominate and you don't get to play the game.
Dude, this is such a brilliant opener. This is what you kind of hope for here because this is going to get a card from hand and it might potentially get some of this equipment block too. But Chris might just have no turn on his start. He might just create Rune Chance and move on. And in this case, he's just going to send a Shrill of the Skull Form red. Now, the crush effect from Starstruck, this card coming from Dusk Till Dawn, is such that if 4 or more damage gets pushed through, in this case 7 is going to happen. So the crush trigger is online, which means that any attack action that Chris sends has to be 8 or more base attack because of the 7 damage that this does. Yep. So incredible new card. Starstruck immensely powerful against certain heroes.
He did indeed get crushed, but this is a nice little response. I mean, when you have to become the Arc Knight, as I draw a sideways lollipop on the screen, as you have to become the Arc Knight, we're going to get rid of an attack action card. We're just going to go and find a Read the Runes, and in response, we're just going to say, I'm not going to even play your little game, and instead I'm just going to create Rune Chance. Could even, if we have the resources for it, use Grasp of the Arc Knight to create a Rune Chance to start, and then finish with a total of 4 Rune Chance generated on this one.
But that's fine. I mean, this could have been a lot worse for Zach. You know, the Mauve Skies into something like Shrill of the Skull Form, and then it gets really out of control. Finding that turn 0 dominated attack and it being Starstruck, that is incredible. In fact, on turn 0, Starstruck's probably the best thing that you want to dominate. Dominating a Crippling Crush on turn 0.
Irrelevant,
exactly. So Starstruck on turn 0 with 3 blues in tow, is the best that you can definitely hope for. Now, you're giving up an arsenal for that, but the damage that you're doing in the disruption effect is incredible. So
it's a long 5. I've seen high 5s before. That's a long 5.
What the living hell is that?
For some reason, that does that sometimes. Otherwise, this time, now we just do that. 5 there.
Thank you very much. All right, we're going to pass the turn there. The creations of the Rune Chance are fine. So we're going to see how much work Bravo can do before he has to kind of back off a little and potentially sort of give up some of these attacks. This is fascinating to me here because it's just an Anathos for 6. The other 2 cards in hand. Now, you have 2 blue, so I'm wondering what the other cards are that he's holding on to here, but opting for the creation of a Seismic Surge, coming in with Hammer Time, Anathos for 6. So those 2 cards, I'm really curious what those other 2 cards are that he's holding on to, that he's opting instead to hold on to them and just swing with the hammer.
Yeah, it could be that we have 2 more blues and you're just going to drop 1 there so that maybe you can get some value off of an early Crown of Providence. Or maybe you have, maybe you're holding on to a weird pummel and you just didn't have something that you wanted to pummel here, or maybe you're just trying to pummel onto the Anothos, which would be perhaps a little less than optimal. Nevertheless, we're just bonking, as a Borvo Stopper of Show likes to do. We're just going to send a really above rate weapon at a really good, just overall, just trade. And that's nice. Nice response. Reduced to rune chant, going up to 6 here.
So he said no blocks and then moved to reaction and immediately jammed down the reduced to rune chant. So he's going to arsenal a card here. The card that he has left in hand, I'm really curious what he's holding on to over
This
here.
was a Fate Foreseen, and it looks
There
like
you
the
go.
other one was a
Sink or something?
No, it was a Warmonger's Diplomacy. Which
That'll
is
do
a
it.
Silver bullet card. That one right there. Absolutely. Some people say just destroys Viserai, but we're going to find out because I think he's holding on to it so that he could play it, perhaps.
Well,
But starting off with a Rune Flash, like you were saying.
Rune Flash with 6 of these 6 Rune Chant Chasers in tow. So this is going to be 10 damage split across 2 different types. And this might be a situation here where Zach might just kind of block this out, play the Warmonger's Diplomacy, and then that might buy him some tempo to come swinging back nice and happy. So he's going to eat the Rune Chants and probably maybe just Fate Foreseen this. I kind of like the opportunity here to actually block this with Fate Foreseen. You tuck the Terra Sunder, and you just...
Well, this is not Sync Below's Fate Foreseen, so we're going to opt and we're going to take
I mean, sorry, by tuck, I mean put in the arsenal at the end of the turn. Like the...
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but don't forget, this turn is not over, and we are going to send even more damage on top of this. So we're going to ask the question of if you want to even keep any of these cards in hand, or if you just want to use them to block. And it looks like Zach is weighing his options. I think you mentioned it earlier. He really wants to play out the Warmonger's Diplomacy and see if we can just goon, as you like to say, the Viserai player.
Goon is a very much a Canadian term when it comes to hockey. That is
Really?
if you have a goon on your team, he's basically your enforcer. He's the dude who has no skill but just protects your stars.
And Hoon, apparently, used in the New Bright Lights set, is also a term, but this one I think is more akin to Australia. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a Australia New Zealand term.
Right.
Hoon?
Yeah.
Hoon. Yeah, which
Hooning,
is,
I believe, is like a street racing term as well, isn't it?
that I don't know.
I do know that.
in
Hooning
the
is
chat.
a
Tell us in the
street
chat.
racing term.
Oh, tell us in the chat. That would be really interesting to know. It's perhaps even more interesting than Bonobo Facts.
We'll have to do like a type of like a
tier list
tier
of
list
facts.
of facts
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
types of facts.
Okay. Yeah.
Bonobo facts are S tier facts.
He's going to pitch for the Anothos. So he's actually just going to hold on to perhaps Arsenal. Arsenal, the silver bullet in this matchup that so many people say is the nuts against Viserai in that Warmonger's Diplomacy.
Which is a fascinating move because you can just play it right now. Actually, there's an opportunity here to just you play it and you pocket the you basically pocket the Terra Sunder.
Sure.
The clapback from Chris would have been relatively pedestrian. It wouldn't have been so powerful. And then on your turn, you can then Terra Sunder with a bigger attack. You can Terra Sunder with the hammer and start chewing away at the armor potentially. So there was those opportunities too. But there's also the thought process here that maybe you don't want to use a Terra Sunder until all that armor's gone. But Terra Sunder is definitely one sort of magnetic way to go ahead and peel off the armor pieces.
Yeah, I agree. Now, as we see the play out of Rattle Bones, now we're not doing this at instant speed, but we are setting up exactly one half of a Rune Chant, and it's going to go and fetch usually its target, which is fetching that Swarming Gloom Veil. We're going to then play that Swarming Gloom Veil. It's going to make a Rune Chant on the back end, thanks to starting with Rattle Bones.
I think that's my new favorite term.
Lenorvo swinging with Bonothos.
Bonothos or Bonothos. Yeah, both of those are good.
Bonothos, I say Bonothos, one way or the other.
So Borvo was so last year. I think we're moving into 2024. It's going to be Bonorvo.
Bonorvo and Bonothos.
And Bonothos,
Right,
yeah.
it looks like you got to get a whole new altar done for your
Mara
Borvo.
Faris, get ready because I'm going to give you some notes. All right, well, 3 from the Swarming Gloom Veil with the Go Again. The 1 aura created gives the Go Again option here. So there's the Rattlebones, the Swarming Gloom Veil, the Rune Chant, and now
I do believe that Rune Chant was taken and dealing with this damage moving forward. I think he has a Meet and Greet in hand, which does now have Go Again if that Rune Chant was indeed taken. Meet and Greet has the resource to pay for it as well, so he could just send that for 4 with Go Again on hit. I believe it's Create a Rune Chant if memory serves correct.
Yesterday we saw the Bravo matchup against the Dromai, where the Bravo took a lot of aggression tactics, took a very aggressive stance against the Dromai, and actually crossed the finish line and got it done here. Myself being a control player by nature, I usually like to slow things down and try to keep things very, very healthy on the life total. Yeah, and in this case, it looks like he's just opting to sort of trade damage to a degree because he wants to maybe bring it to an end state where both players are in single digits, where a dominate can make it happen. And leaning on a lot of that equipment, he's able to maybe make those trades later on.
I think he also drew into 3 blues and a crippling crush as well, and so he might be looking at this, just licking his chops, saying, I can just throw a crippling crush. He's going to sink the arsenal, which was that Warmonger's Diplomacy. Draws into a red. Fate Foreseen.
Warmonger's Diplomacy is such a massive card against Runeblades. I cannot see why you would want to get rid of it. It seems like such a safety net. If you give up all 4 cards, you can always just drop it and make it happen. But it's still fascinating in how this goes. Here's a Revel in Runeblood, a very powerful card again from Everfest. And it's going to create the 4 rune chance. You got to swing with them or you lose it. This is if you don't use it, you lose it.
It's true. Reaping Blade is the weapon of choice. This prevents life gain, which is actually pretty solid into a more defensive build. We don't know if Sigils of Solace are in the deck list for the Bravo player, but we know for a fact that you can no longer play Rosetta Thorn for 2 and 2 because it is, it dusted. Let's just put it that way. It is no longer in this world and in this meta because it is now floating on in the Heavens of Living Legend format. So instead, we have to settle for a 1 for 3 instead of a 1 for 4 card, and there is that Crippling Crush in hand. Can't quite make out if there are enough blues there in play, but I know he has a sink or a Fate Foreseen, I should say. Yep, there's 1 Fate Foreseen. It looks like he has exactly, outside of that Fate Foreseen, 7 resources. He was trying to draw into a blue so he could have dominated a Crippling Crush and forced out a lot of equipment to block.
Now, honestly, the Sigil of Solace to me is becoming a less attractive option for Bravo. It's still in some of the lists that I like to play with. However, without Rosetta Thorn, a lot of more players are playing Reaping Blade, the Rune Blade, so it doesn't get as much opportunity. The reason I keep it around, frankly, is because of Icelanders, and I think that that's an important aspect as well. However, if Icelander does rotate, I think that Sigil of Solace might be one of the cards that I would cut out of that list.
Here's a question for us. This is from Drifter Comic. How do you pronounce Mechropotent? Are you a Mechropotent or are you Mechropotent?
It's actually Mechropotent. No, isn't it Mechropotent or
sure,
Mechropotent?
I wouldn't say. I would say Mechropotent.
I would say Mechropotent as well. But then again,
Mechropotent?
Yeah.
Well, it's mech, right?
Well, you can say CH.
Well, you could, but
Mechropotent.
would that be
Mechropotent?
anywhere in the realm of correct?
It's a made-up word. It's a fantasy game.
Are you a mechanologist? I can't even say that wrong.
I'm a
mechanologist.
I'm a bonobologist.
Mechropotent. Mechropotent?
Macrocpotent.
I don't think that's correct.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are
not
right.
wearing rubber shoes.
How about this Final Crush? This is one of the more important cards to be sending towards a go-again hero like Viserai. Again, the crush effect on this, 4 or more damage, no go-again. So basically, you get a 1 and done on your turn here. Chris K looking at his hand here, trying to figure out, well, if I block this out, I might only have 1 action anyways, so might as well just block it out, right? So we'll see how this one resolves, but there's a Seismic Surge that was made at the same time here. We're going to send a Sonata in front of it, and there goes some of the equipment. And finally, some of the equipment erosion is starting to happen. Zach, happy to see that. So when you do get around to finding a Terra Sunder, you're going to find some significant value because now a lot of that big block is starting to go away. So what are you left with? Well, you've got 1 from the Spellbound Creepers, 2 from the Crown of Providence, and then 1 more from that Grasp of the Arcanite. But it's worth noting that is progress made.
Arsenal, a Crippling Crush, drew into a second Crippling Crush. Has a very red hand, unfortunately for him, it looks like. And on a very powerful turn here, he's playing a look at this, a Mordred Tide into a Become the Arcanite into Read the Runes at the end of the turn. That seems pretty solid. Going to build up a whole bunch of rune chance, and unfortunately, we cannot punish the opponent based on the hand composition really that well, it seems. It says 2 blues is what Ethan ASMR'd into my ear just now, just very sweetly whispering. But not much play here on this side. We're gonna just basically make like 13,000 rune chance.
Well, again, I say this every time it's you and I will round that back down to reality for the
Okay.
viewer.
But your reality in metric is far different than actual reality.
Yes.
I can hear an eagle in the distance. What was that?
Freedom
Oh,
units.
there's a flag somehow blowing. There's no wind in here, but some air just puffed past an American flag.
Well, Zach at 23, Chris at 24, but 8 rune chance of being stowed away there. Just gaining dust, but bam, here
Yes,
comes the
he
Crippling
has
Crush.
he has the sauce. It looks like he did have 2 blues, and this is why we keep that Ethan Van Sant around, because he has the eyes to see 2 blues. It's because he has good glasses.
No Dom sauce on this one. It's Crippling Crush the old-fashioned way, the way Grandma used to play it, frankly.
Dom sauce is the word that you chose, and I kind of love that.
Yeah.
Dominate.
Dom sauce.
You got to record that for him.
I will. You know what I was actually thinking, Ethan? I know that you don't have a graphic for Bravo. You use Starvo. Maybe I'll just do something where you can just record it and put it up there.
It seems like a bit of a breeze over there. You could stand over there where the flag's flying, and you can just have your hair blow in the wind.
I actually do believe I can record a sound bit real quick. So I'm going to mute everything else other than Flake, which is a mistake to begin with. Go ahead, give us Dom sauce.
Dom sauce.
All right, I'm going to try to input that. Keep going.
All right, cool. I like to
Wow.
have it. Dom sauce. Perfect. So that's
Yeah,
the new,
it's
that's
pretty
the new
good.
thing for it. Well,
Can we
there's
get some
also
echo on that. Put some reverb on that.
there's
That's
also
pretty
for
solid right there.
intimidated we say intimate.
Yeah, intimate. That's the one. Oh, that's a throwback
That
right
is
there.
very
to,
much a throwback.
You and Brendan over at an event
At
like
the Realm.
over a year ago. That's right. It
Yeah,
was a
the Realm event
Yeah.
ages ago. My God, Dom sauce. So there's
We're
no
gonna-
Dom sauce on this. Okay,
No.
this is massive. This is a massive play because he's giving up all the equipment. Zach loves to see this because he knows that the clapback is going to be significant if you're giving up all this armor on a non-dominated attack.
Well, this card right here is another crippling crush.
All right,
if
update.
I'm
I messed up. I clicked the wrong button, but it is possible. So we gotta do it again. All right. So get
Let me know.
ready.
Ready, yep.
Get ready, and go.
Dom sauce.
That should work.
Gigadom, that's good. Mechanoprotent. Why are we putting extra letters inside there? It doesn't exist.
They're free.
Oh, here we go. All right, pitching the thing called Arknight Shard, and in pitching that creates another rune chant. We are up to
Dom sauce.
9 rune chants, and at any moment
Dom
you can now
sauce.
hear Dom sauce.
Dom sauce.
Something
right.
casual here for just a casual,
Wowza.
casual 4. Go again.
Now, how many were made here in terms of auras? Because, okay, so there's only 2, so this means that it gets to go again, and it gets the +1. Had there been another aura made, it would have meant that if that hit, you cannot prevent arcane damage, which can be deadly should there be a follow-up of extra arcane damage off this. But without Rosetta and without extra ways to make more rune chants, it's not really going to be that big of a deal. Nonetheless, Swarming Gloomveil is here, and that is another Everfest card, a huge big help for rune blades here. It's 4 go again, but I mean the bigger picture here is going to be those rune chants. But we know Guardian loves blue cards, so that is just three blue pitches to get out of this. But does he have them?
Well, I think what Zach really wanted to do was go Crippling Crush into Crippling Crush. And I believe, like I said earlier, this is with the giantest arrow in the world. That is Crippling Crush.
It's a very straight arrow, though. Well done.
I was
yeah,
going to
it's a
say, that actually
Dom
worked out very well.
sauce arrow. But nevertheless, that right there, if that is Crippling Crush, he wanted to follow this up with another turn where he just forces the actual discard of 2 cards on the side of Chris. And in order to do that, he's going to have to take 9 plus 4 plus maybe an additional 4 off of that plus the rune chant.
So here's the issue with this, because trading damage in this capacity, Bravo can go ahead and sure, he'll trade. I'll say, I'll take the 13. I'm going to give you 11 dominate and buy some cards out of your hand.
Yeah.
It's not the damage, it doesn't equate, but I'm buying the momentum and maybe that's worth it. The problem there is what happens if Bravo gets 3 red cards and a blue, and all he has left to do is like create a Seismic Surge and swing hammer. Then all of a sudden, it's back to Viserai's turn. I think that Zach did the right thing here by just preserving that card in hand. That Crippling Crush will exist there throughout the game. So maybe you do it in a juncture where the trade-off is not as huge. But look at this. Here's another Swarming Gloomveil. And again, this one comes packed in with the fact that if you let this slide, you are no longer going to be able to block any arcane. But most of that arcane has already been dealt with.
Yeah, and this is coming for 4 with 1 rune chant. And I just want to point out, look, Tectonic Rift. new expansion slot card making its way into the deck. That's kind of exciting, but gonna take the 1 plus the 4, which is kind of cool. There it is, Tectonic Rift. Create X Seismic Surge tokens paying X, which is a cool little flexible card from this expansion slot, but able here to stop some damage, and gonna follow it up with the 1 and 3 for a massive turn. And this was all bought off of the block of the equipment, and we are basically down to nil on equipment blocks over on the Viserai side. So he's a little bit, what's the word? Threatened by some big hits and some big kind of attacks over the next couple of turns.
The issue here, I feel, is the fact that, well, let's just talk about Tectonic Rift. I'm not a big fan of Tectonic Rift. Number one, blocks for 2. Number 2 is the fact that it's not a 3 pitch, so it doesn't really help out with your Anathos. And in fact, it's like you're pitching to create seismic surges, and then you're following up with an Anathos for 4. Like, it's not the greatest card. I'm not too thrilled about it, but who knows? Down the line, we might see something that might play more with the seismic surges coming with Rising Tide. Still, lots of cards coming in. Here's the Mavrian Skies into the Amplify the Arknight.
Yeah, this is a classic Viserai line that was popularized last year and the year before that, and just going Mauve Skies into big attack for the go again, guaranteed. This is really asking to be blocked because we don't want the creation of more rune chance, which would only be 1 in this case because it's a blue Mavrian Skies, but you don't really want to give extra value to your opponent, especially when they're swinging 6, which is just a really good rate. And with the resources up, there's so many more. With the resources not up, there's so many more things that are available if you have the possible rune chant discount, like that rune flash that had been maybe created if allowed.
All right, so Zach immediately says no blocks because he's got the 3 blues in hand. He's going to be dominating this Crippling Crush. I think there was no worries there. That's why he used all of that equipment, and I think Chris knows that it's coming for sure. Going down to 9 is Zach. This is going to be a pivotal turn here. As you can see, he's going to push that Bravo to the front. Boom. All right, and let's make it happen. There it is. So there it is, Ethan. Dumb sauce.
There it is. Well done. Well done. Dom sauce indeed. 11 dominate, no recourse as far as equipment is concerned. He was vulnerable to this, and he made the plays that he did, is Chris, to set up a nice turn here, but he's basically just going to say, give me the 11. Let's pick the 2 cards.
Huge.
I go down to 10, and life is at parity again with 9 versus 10.
Huge.
Except
Now,
I have to start with a 2-card hand.
This is half of the story. The second half of the story is what does Zach follow this up with? If Zach pulls another Crippling Crush with 3 blues, amazing. A Spinal Crush just as crucial. One of those other Starstrucks, big. So the draw here is what's going to be important. Just as important as what he's giving up here in terms of what Chris is going to be left with. He gave up a blue and a Command and Conquer. That could have been a decent play to do with 2 cards.
Yeah, definitely. And the third half of the story is what he has left over, like you said, as you see there. Looking here, he's going to just start with a whoa, Tome of the Arknight. Gamers, we're gamers. We're
Found it.
gamers. Both
Found
of those
it.
cards. And how great is this? Now we have our 9 rune chance for the 9th. Oh wait, no, we don't.
No, you don't. That's the
How are you
issue.
gonna do this to me?
We're
Come
just
on.
we're just gonna have to play out that rattle bones that we found off the top and go send that that casual swarming bloom veil, maybe. Maybe that's swarming. Or we can go get like a meet and greet for a 1 for 4. Not swarming, it's just a play, because then we can go swarming into the reaping blade for a nice little punch.
Yeah, this actually came up. This all came up Millhouse. I mean, everything that happened to Chris here. Again, dominating Crippling Crushes are not as scary as they once were. Don't get me wrong; they're still impressive as they were, but they're not game-ending or game-altering as they once were ages ago. I've done it a million times, and I've been burnt a million times because these heroes now can do magic tricks with just 1 or 2 cards left. So.
Visra, I'm going to point out Visra doesn't appreciate my Yogi Berra quotes. Yogi Berra, a fantastic quotable individual
He
back in the
was.
day, and I threw one out there to see if you could, set me up and knock it out of the park. And unfortunately, people don't appreciate the Yogi Berra. So you know what? I don't care. I don't care about you.
Yogi Berra is Yogi Berra is actually the creator of the quote. It's not over till it's over.
That's right.
Yep.
He has many quotable things. If there's a fork in the road, take it.
Yep, he's awesome.
If you find a
He's-
fork in the road, take it. That's extra utensils.
He
Put that in your purse.
Google Yogi Berra quotes. There are easily 24 of them that you probably use in your day to day. I
I
guarantee
know, and that was a nice little like setup, and I was hoping someone would pick that up. But you know.
Like when he talks about getting picnic baskets.
Okay, there you go.
No, that's the different Yogi
That's a
Berra.
different Yogi.
Oh, well, he found a Spinal Crush. The problem is does he have the 2 blues descended? And I think he does. And he can't dominate it because he doesn't have a Seismic Surge that's going to help him out here. The question is does Zach want to go down to 4 in order to send a Crippling Crush? And he is. And I think that this is the right move because at the very least you're buying 2 cards from Chris K.
I'm just also going to say that the eventualities in this world that we live in for that discard off the Crippling Crush were a 2-card 6 and a 2-card a billion. That was like 7 damage off of 2 cards and getting lucky off of a Tome of the Arknight. That was pretty solid.
Oh, so he didn't have that extra card? I guess he didn't have that extra card.
Sends the old Seismic
Oh, no, he
Surge
blocked.
plus
That's
a
bad. Okay.
Nothos, yeah.
Yeah,
Nothos for 6.
Yeah, the choke slam, but oh boy, here. Okay, so here comes the Mauvrion Skies into a Shrill of the Skull form red.
Nice.
This is a massive turn here because it comes with a breakpoint. Now you can block 6 from hand. You do have one more breakpoint that you can cover with the Crater Fist, which is kind of I think what you want to do here. You do not want to get extra value off of that Mauvrion Skies. Not this loaded ground. Now this again goes back to the fact that when I play Bravo, I like to play it really tight. I don't like to let much damage through because when you do find opportunities to dominate those Crippling Crushes and do those things, you want to have a nice cushion where you're able to swing the tide in that case. Now, Zach's playing this very aggressive, and he's brought Chris down to 7, but now you're in a juncture in the game where this can happen, and it's dangerous. The beauty of this, though, is you have Anathos, which is a huge help for you that to just swing away with 1 or 2 cards that you have left. So here it is, full block. Crater Fist is going to bust up off this one. And there's a white border, Bravo.
Yep, that is the white border that he's throwing out there when he dominates things for the Dom.
Love it.
And it's going to send the 1 plus the 3, which is basically Rosetta Thorn. I mean, this is just as good as Rosetta Thorn with the 1 and the 3, following this up, covering things up there. But gonna take the 1 and then block the 3. That leaves a blue unmovable that was in hand. Awkward in that moment because you can't use that unmovable for its maximum effect since you didn't have the capability of really blocking breakpoints of 7. Instead, we're just going to send it and swing a Nothos.
Yeah, he had the blue unmovable, which is a very scary card to have stuck in your hand at low life totals.
Yes, indeed. That is, yes. What's the card?
What did you say?
I just mentioned the blue unmovable in the hand, and I just talked about how it was an awkward blocking point because it didn't cover up the breakpoint.
It doesn't cover the break.
You're right. I agree with you. That's exactly correct.
I was too busy talking about the white border.
You were thinking. You immediately just began thinking about the white border, Bravo. You're just like fantasizing
It's a
about
pretty
the
card.
It wasn't Bonobo Fax in there? I think that's
Yeah.
But the two of us looked at each other and we're just like, "Hey, I feel like I've heard that before."
All right, now I want to bring some attention to the fact that what was left in his hand was a blue unmovable here, which was really difficult because you can't just cover up the 7 that he attacked with, and it's really difficult that you can't block it on its own. So that's very dangerous. So he has to pitch it here.
Yeah, I made for an awkward blocking turn, right? So he had to give the 2 cards that could block on that first attack,
mainly
and then
because this card over here blocks. It was attacking for 7, right? And this here, it
only goes for 5 when it's
5
not
out of hand, and
impossible.
even
Yeah,
if
yeah.
it came out of Arsenal, it would only
Only
been
be for
6.
6,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
Very good
there we
point.
go. So he's going to block here for 3, which is going to not cover it all because of the breakpoint, which is probably one of the
What would have
problems.
been really good there if he had an unmovable blue from hand because that would cover up. It would just you have to cost 3 to do that. But here's an awkward hand he drew into, and that's the Rune Blade hand right there, drawing unfortunately into a couple of reds he had to pitch away, not sending any damage. And now, who's in the driver's seat?
Well, this is going to be nice. So we're going to start off with the tech plate and the Dom sauce. And it's a dominated 8. Now this is not an end game by any means, and this is the scary thing because Zach is going to present 8 damage dominated, but he can block 3, deal 5, and the silver lining for Chris is that he's going to still have a lot of cards to deal with. But he did have a reducer rune chat in Arsenal, so he'll have 3 cards to play with and only take 1 at the end of this.
But this is so smart because he had 2 reds in hand prior. He was able to pitch and create the rune chant, so he didn't have to pay for that reduced to rune chant because it's reduced by the number of rune chants he had. He had nothing up, so he had to make that exact play to make this a saving play. And here he's going to start with just the classic like 3-card hand of an attack, but being preceded by the Mauvrion Skies. so that we can send Rune Chance and threaten an on hit. And this was a great kind of stealing back that tempo. It's crazy that he had this blue unmovable in hand as well, because it didn't block that breakpoint of 7 as well.
Yeah, this is a nasty little bit of business over here. The red Mavrian Skies, the Rune Flash with the go again, the Rune Chants that are coming in tow. It's a nasty bit of reality here that Zach's going to have to navigate. You can't let this hit, but at the same time, you do want to just close this out. The tough part about that is that, you know, the capitalization of the fact that Chris just created the Rune Chant and basically passed is that, yeah, you're dominating attack, but it's a blue Thunderquake. There's no disruption on that. There's nothing that you're really doing other than sending vanilla damage, and that's a tough bit. If that was something like Starstruck, if that was something like a Spinal Crush, etc., that makes you feel better. Now, obviously, Chris had the reduced Rune Chant in his arsenal, but ultimately, you know, just sending that damage, I would have probably felt more comfortable just sending it and hoping that Chris just gives me cards and I can just get another turn
Without
off
the
it.
dominate. Yeah, that's actually a really interesting point.
It's an option. It seems a little unorthodox, but it's certainly a thing to think about there in that case. But still, you want to get closer to an end game. And Chris at 4 with Bravo being able to dominate. It's an opportunity here. So here's Anathos, but merely for 4. But he's at a position where he has to respect this every single time.
And this is notably not a blue unmovable,
Correct,
which is
yes.
not available to block in pressure scenarios. Instead, we're just going to give him the 3 value block there, taking the 1, and again, going to try and play out that 3-card hand. Yes, if only he could dominate the blue unmovable. Now, that would be a cheating play. That would be quite cheating, but, you know, it might be interesting. There's the play again. We have the go again. We're floating the resource. This is kind of the bread and butter type of play that you learn when you first pick up the hero of Viserai. Create Rune Chance, give an on hit with Mavrian Skies, threaten a break point, and float a resource for the weapon. In this case, we don't have Thorn, but we do have Reaping Blade, which is honestly just as good. And I do think I see right here, that card I think is a blue unmovable. And I'm not kidding this time. I actually think that is blue unmovable.
You're right. And you don't know what's coming up after this. Well, it's going to be Reaping Blade, obviously, but it's Reaping Blade plus 3 Rune Chance. So it's 6 damage. That unmovable can just be pitched away to the Rune Chance. But at the same time, I like to just get rid of that card as soon as I can. Blue unmovable, if you find a nice house for it, you just send it in. But he's going to throw away a red and a yellow here. And here comes the Reaping Blade for 3 and 3 Rune Chance. So he's going to pitch away, cover it all up, moving away. And again,
this card actually did some serious work on this turn, because he was at 3, and he needed to make sure that he took care of business, because otherwise, without that blue unmovable, you ever think you'll make a Marvel blue unmovable? Wow, actually, I think it's going to be Judge Pack 3, actually. Without that blue...
Unbelievable.
Without that blue unmovable...
It's unbelievable.
Dumb babies in the chat.
Oh, I didn't even notice the name. That's incredible. Stupid babies need the most attention. Dumb baby. And his Waluigi.
Okay, yep, that's the play line we're taking. 3, you got to have another blue unmovable style card. In this case, it's going to be cover up. And we're just in this play. We're stuck in this play pattern that you can get towards the end of the game, where one player has all the tempo and is trying to just drain the other. But you have to maintain that. You have to continue that. Otherwise, you're going to give tempo to a hero that can win on the spot and dominate, right?
Basically. And again, if you take a defensive posture, you're hoping to sort of squeeze out some of the threats here. But yeah, what Zach is waiting for here is another 4 non-attack action type of card, one of those Ring Blade cards. Chris has been very good at drawing up those nice balanced hands. And here it is, another exactly the same thing, more or less. It's a yellow Mob Skies into a Spellblade Assault, creating more Rune Chance, giving the go again, and this is another attack that you absolutely have to respect.
Is this not just the most thrilling gameplay you've seen out of any hero ever? I love Viserai. Man, it's incredible.
I thoroughly enjoy this. It's consistency. This is consistent threat that you have to dance around. And you know, it's definitely one of those acquired tastes. Just like dominating to finish a game is an acquired taste. So is the generation and the constant threat of Rune Chance onto the field, right? But it's this back and forth game that, if you can put yourself into a position for Chris, Chris has done, then you can maybe find yourself on a 3-1 record, and that's what he's trying to do right now.
To attack, I mean, this is easily covered up, but he's holding onto a Sink Below, I believe.
And you do want to cover this up because this generates you
for
two
sure.
more rune chance, right? And so we're just deciding how to best do that. And we've got a Fate Foreseen and a Sink Below, so 2 4 blocks. And do you want to give that value to a Spellblade Assault that's just a blue?
You just want to, because you need to hold a 3 block for the Reaping Blade, and you need to hold a blue to stomp the rune chance.
Yeah.
But you don't know.
With 2 reds though in hand, which makes this
That's-
really uncomfortable. So if you have 3 reds in hand, you're probably dead on a turn like this. And so you need to first of all stop this, right?
You got to sink something, I think, is what you need to potentially do here, but we'll see what that is. Not to mention, Chris is holding on to a card in hand and 1 in arsenal, so this is not done yet. I don't know if all 3 of the Swarming Gloomveils have been used.
Yeah, they've been cycled out and cycled many times off of the power of Rattlebones. But yeah, they have been burned through. Nevertheless, if this is something absolutely insane that generates more rune chance, like maybe even
Revel. If that's Revel, that
that's
can
the
be
one.
broken.
If that generates rune chance, then he could just close it out regardless of what's in the hand here. It just depends on how we go about blocking here first.
The worst thing he can have is an unbelievable. That would be definitely difficult over here because of the fact that it's doesn't cover the breakpoints.
No, it really doesn't.
So we're gonna see this. This might feel bad, but yeah, you're gonna fate this to see what's on top because the Sink Below is what's gonna help him. Okay, so he likes that, and this is a good information to Chris. And like you're giving up a Fate Foreseen into this, another Mauve Skies, making Ethan Van Sant so happy to see this incredible play.
Wow.
All right, well, it is gonna
That's
be
nuts.
Oh boy.
And he's gonna be able to cover up the breakpoint of the Amplify the Arcanite, but he has to deal with the arcane damage first, and that's the problematic piece of this because he can't just sink below, grab a blue, and then pay into the rune chance. He has to start with the rune chance and the arcane damage. So if he's got that blue, which I believe he does have, he's probably gonna pitch that into the blocking of it, but then you cover up the Amplify with maybe that Sink plus the last card in hand, and then you just die to the Reaping Blade after the fact.
This is why I don't like to trade damage with Viserai, because I don't like to be put in these positions. If it was just all physical damage, then it feels a little bit cleaner. You can just give up your hand and wait for an opportunity. Keeping a healthy life total against a Viserai means that you have to be the opportunist in this matchup. You have to pick and choose your spots to send those big attacks. Eating like 13 damage to send a dominated Crippling Crush doesn't necessarily mean that you're in the driver's seat. It just means that you're potentially taking a little bit less damage. But the Viserai players, as you can see, can do a lot of things with 2 hands, let alone 2 cards, let alone 5 of them. Which
that's a 5-card hand off the arsenal.
It's nasty, but he found 2 Mauve Skies, 2 attacks, and has the 1 left over to really sort of hammer this home. Zach here is trying to solve a really complex puzzle here.
Now, what would have been interesting if this right here had a blue unmovable in arsenal, we could use that, but we just don't have the resources to both do that and stop the rune chance. So we are going to pay out. We're going to cover this up. And unfortunately, we just lose on the backswing to the rune chance plus the weapon. Shaking the heads is Chris, realizing that was a powerful, powerful end game that he set up. Team Second Cycle showing up, showing out on Viserai, a hero that just people said is dead in the water thanks to a card like Warmonger's Diplomacy. I wonder if we saw that Warmonger's played early, if that would have been more impactful and would have pivoted this game and on its head really.
Well, I feel like Warmonger's Diplomacy against his Runeblades is incredibly potent. The one card that really might buy you 6 to 8 damage of relief, as it were. Maybe he just comes in again, either develops a lot of rune chance or swings with 1 attack that you can deal with, and that allows you to actually maybe draw up, have another disruptive turn. That's fine. Warmonger's Diplomacy is that kind of safety net where you can kind of keep it in the arsenal, and it's not like you're Oldhim where you're constantly cycling that arsenal. Sure. You can keep it there as a safety net and just use it when you need it. And in that case, getting rid of Warmonger's Diplomacy early means that when you do have to give up 4 cards, you can't just drop it and say your turn is going to be pretty average, which is fine by me. I will trade with average, but the thing about it is Zach was trading